Joining us now is Stuart Reed, VP Products at Nominet. Stuart is going to discuss how organisations feel about cloud security in the current climate, about cyber confidence, and also around the stress associated with the role of the CISO, which Nominet has done extensive research into. What worries you most about the digital world that we all now live in?
I think that the digital world certainly gives us a huge amount of opportunities, but it's also the reliance is probably the thing that makes me the most nervous, is we are very, very reliant on technology, almost to the point where it is the kind of invisible fabric of everything that we do. And with that kind of invisibility and that reliance, people look to exploit that sometimes.
With that in mind, what do you see as the benefits towards moving to much more of a cloud-based strategy?
Well, so cloud gives a huge amount of advantages to organisations. So those that are looking to embark on new digital initiatives and they're not quite sure how those are going to work out, it allows them to scale up and scale down accordingly. It also brings with it a lot of cost advantages and the ability to move quite quickly into new initiatives and new areas. No longer is your network within your own four walls. If you're looking at embracing cloud as an initiative, then you are both relinquishing a level of control, potentially you're having trouble getting that visibility into those cloud environments, and your digital attack surface is becoming far broader. So understanding how you get that visibility and how you retain that level of control and responsibility is really important.
Should organisations be concerned about security in the cloud?
Organisations need to be concerned about cybersecurity, full stop. So cloud should be no different in terms of an approach from an organisation. Anything that requires a digital touch point within an organisation, whether that's on-premise or whether that's on the cloud or whether that is some kind of hybrid approach, diligence is really important. Understanding the implications of the decisions that an organisation is making in regards to their new digital initiatives is really important. So security is important regardless. You need to understand that their security frameworks are at least matching against the ones that you would hold yourself accountable for in your own internal networks, and ideally it should be higher than your own expectations.
I think that's a big part of this, isn't it? As you say, it's relinquishing control to some degree. What needs to happen to allay those fears of organisations that do worry about that?
Relinquishing control doesn't necessarily mean you're relinquishing your responsibilities. So you do have a level of responsibility for the data that you process or that resides in your cloud environments, and therefore understanding how that data is going to be used within your cloud environment, who has access to it, who should have access to it, are really, really important key questions that must be asked.
What other steps can organisations take in order to protect their own security posture?
Well, I think it's the old adage of people, process and technology. So people play a fundamental role within any organisation, and the notion of a collective responsibility is one that needs to become really front of mind in any organisation. Everybody that sits within an organisation has a role to play in terms of security posture. So educating your employees, having them understand exactly the role that they play, and having that underpinned by the right processes, so that if something bad does happen or something that they don't think is quite right happens, there is a process in place for them to be able to raise that and for it to be mitigated. And of course that needs to be underpinned by the right level of technology to, of course, help those within the organisation to mitigate or to close down vulnerabilities that they might see within their digital infrastructures.
Let's move on now to the whole issue of cyber stress, because I know it's something that Nominet has focused on quite considerably. So are breaches inevitable no matter what? And if so, does everybody else in the organisation appreciate that?
breaches are not going away, but there are a huge amount of fundamental pieces, building blocks from a cyber perspective that need to be in place also to help prevent some of these breaches taking place. So things like good password hygiene, patching your systems with the latest software updates, understanding where your data is at any one point in time. Those are kind of basic foundational pieces that people need to be aware of.
What do you think could be the consequences personally to CISOs in the event of breaches? Because there is a huge amount of pressure on them, isn't there?
When a breach occurs, the CISO does feel it directly, and also I think that they are probably seen by the rest of the organisation as the responsible party, and that's something that also has to change, because we're seeing more and more from a board level perspective that they're seeing the relevance of a CISO role and they see it as being critical for their organisation, but they don't necessarily recognise that they also play their part in a good security posture. So a CISO, in order to be successful, probably needs to feel that they're empowered and enabled to make the changes necessary to improve that security within the organisation. And we're speaking to CISOs about their need of a broader network detection and response capability, whereby they still maintain that level of visibility regardless of how wide that perimeter spreads. And I think that's really where the interesting part of where we're focused, the DNS level, really comes into play for those CISOs. And DNS is the domain name system. It's essentially the signpost of the internet. So anything that you put into your toolbar, the www extension, is using DNS. It's a ubiquitous layer, and because it's ubiquitous, it doesn't matter where your network is anymore. And so if you're able to analyze that layer, you're able to get those early warning signals, step in front of them, and mitigate the impact. So that's really key part of providing visibility for a CISO or anyone within an organization that wants to have that visibility and control over their infrastructures.